What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we are going to be showcasing how to complete the entirety of the Rogue Network quest, which features the brand new Vesper's Host dungeon just added into Destiny 2 within episode Revenant. Completing this quest essentially unlocks these secret chests for this dungeon. On top of that, you get this sick class item, and you will need to eventually complete this quest in order to acquire the exotic catalyst for the Icebreaker exotic sniper rifle. And so, let's get started. But first, guys, a massive warning. Not only is this quest very complicated, but it's also incredibly glitchy and super player unfriendly, especially when it comes to whose instance the game is actually playing. So I cannot tell you how many times I had to restart and rerun the dungeon just to actually have someone who had the proper puzzles within their instance. So be warned, this is not a walk in the park. You're gonna have to do the dungeon many times to get this done, likely, unless you are just super lucky and your instance has everything actually appearing as it should, which again is very unlikely. Now, let's start off here with talking to Spider. You will acquire the Rogue Network quest, and the first step is to complete the Vesper's Host dungeon on any difficulty. If you haven't done that yet, definitely check out my complete guide linked right up above. But as you are finishing this dungeon, you have just killed the final boss. As you can see, there is something you can actually interact with, and you want to do so just to be safe. After you interact with this message, you're going to head back down to the last city and interact with Spider. Once you do, your quest will update, and now you have 3 different objectives, and all of them say message collected. So you're going to head back into the Vesper's Host dungeon. After completing the very first encounter, you're then going to have access to a puzzle which will give you the first message you need. So you're going to head through this door with the red symbol above it to one of the rooms where the nuclear core objective was in the first encounter. Now, once you're in this kind of blue room, you're going to see what looks like a bunch of CDs around this room. And these CDs are what you have to step on in the correct order. So what you're going to do is step over one of these CD-looking platforms, and then that will start the puzzle. At this point, you will see the platforms kind of turn to dark, except one of them is going to be blinking, as you can see right here. So you need to stand on the one that's blinking. When you do, you'll get a bit of an audio cue, and that blinking will stop, and it will be now a solid whitish silver color. Then you look around for the next one that is going to be blinking or flashing. You stand on that one. And it's really as simple as that. Just in this room, you're going from platform to platform to platform, hopping on the ones that are flashing. Eventually, when you've hopped on every single one in correct sequence, then as you can see right here, a little bit of a reward will pop up. You actually get an Ascendant Alloy. I was full, so I didn't get any. But then you need to pick up this interactable object, which is the actual message, and that will progress your quest. One of those 3 message received objectives will now be complete. And then moving on from there, you will get to the nuclear core semi-encounter where you are avoiding that huge servitor boss. And I would recommend actually depositing all of these different nuclear cores before you continue with this step, because then you can go around easily without the servitor trying to kill you as you're trying to do this. So once you eventually do plant all of those nuclear reactors, you are going to head all the way back to the room with the nuclear core deposit station number 1, as you can see right here. You're going to see this console, and you can interact with it and say reboot system. Once you do, all of these different symbols are going to light up, but one of them is going to be slightly blinking. So this console is essentially just a map for all of the different CD platforms in your immediate area. So you can see right here, for us, one was blinking near the very top. It was the top right one, and that's the one right here, like the topmost right next to that console. So I'm going to stand on it and boom, it's going to glow, and now you see another different symbol is blinking, and it's the one straight down. So what do you know? I turn around and there's a one like downwards of that. So it's not a perfect like one-to-one recreation of exactly the locations of all these things, but it's a good representation of, okay, this one's blinking, it's below the one I just did, I'm gonna go even further, I'm gonna go even further in that direction. So what I'm gonna do right here, guys, is I'm going to label all of these different symbols on this console, and then when I go to these different symbols, I'll have that labeled number pop up on screen so you can see like where each individual one of these symbols actually are, because it's the same process of completing it as the last one. It's just now you have these consoles showing you where to go rather than you actually being able to see them physically blinking or flashing on the ground. And keep in mind, as you're going to see in the background gameplay, there are multiple of these consoles around this immediate area that you are able to look at when you are going to stand on these platforms. Importantly, it's really not that big of an area you need to cover. It's like the adjacent rooms and this hallway, and that's really it, and you will see that in the background gameplay. But in any event, guys, once you do eventually stand on all of the different platforms in the correct order, as you can see, you will get a bit of a reward pop up yet again. And additionally, you now have to head over to this particular area to pick up the message and again complete that quest step. Now, moving on from there, you will need to complete the second encounter against the big servitor boss, but after that, as you are heading towards the final boss encounter, we have the third and final message you need to collect. So the console is going to be located right here in this kind of room, and it's going to show you again another essentially map of the area where these different objects are located. Keep in mind it's kind of flipped, so if you're looking directly at the console, like over to the left, you actually have to head to the right, and the stuff on the right, you have to head over to the left. So just keep that in mind. But again, I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to label the console here, and then as I'm going to all of these different platforms, I'm going to like show you guys where each one of these labels actually are in game. Again, keep in mind there are multiple consoles that will show you the next platform you need to go to, including one that's literally floating in the air, so you don't always have to go back to that original console. You can just to get your bearings, but it's not necessary. And this one does have, and of course you will see in the background gameplay, but it does have some more tricky platforms, like in some pretty unusual spots. One is up against a wall that's kind of almost disguised with the wall and stuff like that. But you have unlimited time here, and if you mess it up, it will simply restart. So you'll get it eventually. Now, once you do complete this step, as you can see, you will gain a reward and you go back near that original console to collect the message. And then finally, when you have all 3 messages, then you will get something very interesting. The quest step will update and now you get the first level access token. So, if you maybe remember when you're going through that nuclear ball delivery objective just before the second encounter, there was actually a door that says first level security required. Well, that's what you can now open. And as you can see in the background gameplay, you will find this door shortly after depositing in station number 4. So, unfortunately, you can't just backtrack. You will need to either restart the entire dungeon or from a checkpoint after the first encounter. Regardless, guys, you will have to get back to the nuclear core delivery encounter, and when you do, you're going to head to this particular door that you can now open. When you do, there is a chest inside. But again, I have a massive warning. This is glitched. For whatever reason, only one person in your fire team can grab the chest at a time. So that means if you're playing with a fire team, one person grabs it and then you reload on someone else's instance, you do it again for them, you reload on the third person's instance and do it again for them. Or all 3 people simply go solo and do the nuclear core delivery for themselves until they get to that door, open it, and grab that chest. You don't have to do the entirety of that nuclear core encounter, you just gotta grab the chest. And so, once you do grab this chest, your quest step is going to update, and now you have 3 more messages to collect. So, you're gonna have to restart the dungeon again. Now, after you beat the first encounter, you have a different puzzle waiting for you in that same room. So it's going to be down through the door with the red symbol above it to like the blue room. But once you're in here, now, as you can see, you will have all of these different keypads that are numbered. These keypads are not the same ones you were shooting while doing the actual first encounter. Again, they are in new locations. So what you need to do for this puzzle is grab scanner and then go and test all of these numbered keypads. If they disappear, that's the ones you want to shoot. So it's actually the opposite of the normal way you use scanner within this dungeon, where the ones that disappear are the bad ones. In this case, if they disappear, then you will need to shoot them with operator. So but solo, you can either grab a scanner, go around and figure out each one, and then grab operator yourself and shoot each one. But it's obviously a lot easier if you do have a teammate. One person with scanner just goes around and tests all of the different keypads. Now, some of them are in some pretty hard to get places and some unique locations, but as long as you do go around and test all of them and you have someone with operator shooting the ones, again, that disappear, then eventually you will get this puzzle done. And as you can see, an object will spawn that you can collect for your first message objective. Now, after that, you're going to progress with the dungeon and beat the second encounter, that servitor boss. After that, in the traversal section towards the final boss fight, you have the second puzzle and the second message received. So as you can see right here, you're going to get up to this platform where the brig is going to spawn, and there's going to be a scanner as well as an operator that you can utilize. So as you can see right here, I go over to this number 4 and look, it disappears on my minimap. So I tell my teammate, yep, this is one you want to shoot. He does, we keep going. So again, this is pretty simplistic in terms of what you do. You just look, if it disappears, get the guy with operator to shoot it. But where this might be challenging is that things are spread out over a pretty large area. Like you can see, eventually you are going to have to like jump across like to these floating platforms off in the distance and stuff. So you may want to equip something like a sword with eager edge, and also really keep in mind your timer for these buffs. Like once your scanner and operator are getting low, come back and deposit them and grab them again, because again, you will have to cover a pretty large area for this particular puzzle. And I also want to point out there are some keypads like around the corner to the right down below in some very sus places that are not maybe easy to spot and maybe even hard to see on your minimap too. But eventually, guys, you will simply get this done by shooting those correct keypads. And once you do, you're going to have those Ascendant Alloys spawn, and you're going to have an object that you can collect. And this will be your second message collected. Now, continuing from there, guys, still before you reach the final encounter, so still part of this traversal section, you are going to keep going all the way through past like the room with a ton of explosive trap mines, and eventually you're going to find this boss. You're going to kill this boss and go outside. Now, once you're outside, you're going to jump to the platform kind of immediately in front of you, and as you can see, this big platform actually has a lower section and you can jump below, and this is where you find Scanner and Operator. So it's the same thing as before. Someone with Scanner is going around and seeing which of these keypads disappears, and someone with Operator is shooting the ones that disappear. Yet again, the challenging part is simply finding the location of all of these different keypads, especially the verticality. You're going to have like some below in this ship wreckage and others above that same wreckage in some pretty weird spots. Again, you can watch the gameplay to get a very good idea for all of these different locations here, but eventually you will shoot all of the correct ones, and now you will actually update your quest, and you can now get the second level secret chest. So importantly, unlike the first level where we had to completely restart the entire dungeon, for this one, as you can see right here, you can backtrack. So head back inside where you initially jumped out into space, like past where you killed that boss, and into the hallway where there's a bunch of mines, and then you can actually open this door here, and then you can loot this second secret chest. Now, at this point, it wants you to return to Spider and update your quest yet again, and we're going to be coming back to this second secret chest location very soon. So, head to the last city, talk to Spider, and then the quest step will update, and it says that you use your key on the second level Braytech storage module. So, at this point, you need to, you probably guessed it, head into the dungeon again. After you're done with the first encounter and you've done the nuclear core section and you're just about to head over to the second encounter, you're going to end up in this hallway. Like just before there's the big broken section of the hallway you have to jump over to get to that second encounter. As you can see right here, as you are running towards that second big encounter with the servitor boss, you're going to go through this doorway, and behind you is going to be an object that you shoot. So it's going to be changing between numbers, and when you shoot it, it will then change to a stagnant number. Then right after that, guys, you're going to jump over this chasm, and then you're going to head down below this like slide closer to the second encounter, but you're going to, instead of heading towards that boss fight, you head to the left, and as you can see, there's another one of these objects that you're going to shoot and get that stationary number. Then you're going to continue through the dungeon as normal, beat the second encounter, and yet again, we're focusing on the traversal section between the second encounter and the final boss fight. So you're going to head through this area past where the brig spawns, as you can see, and just past there actually, you're going to look in between these two big cylinders, and on the side of one, as you can see, is another one of these numbers you need to shoot. Then you are simply going to continue forward, and then when you are jumping away from the lightning and landing on this kind of big area here, as you can see behind you is the fourth and final of these numbers you need to shoot. So once you have shot all four, you're going to continue forward, guys, and importantly, you're going to head inside this door the second level security door where you had that chest before. So now you can actually activate this console. Then, as you can see right here, you're going to have operator just behind you, and you're going to have 4 different keypads numbered 1 to 4. Now, initially, I was streaming when I was doing this, and everyone was saying, oh, just put in your last 2 numbers, which in this case is 3 and 4. Well, it did not work. And so we did it again, and we had different numbers, 1 and 3. We put it in. It did not work. So there's a lot of people who think it's the last 2 numbers, but apparently the answer is just 42. So that's what worked for us. And again, everyone we talked to, we were like, what were your last 2 numbers? Everyone who got it done said, oh, it was 42. So it just seems like the answer is 42. And if that for some reason doesn't work, try the last 2 numbers. And to be honest, guys, there's only, 2 places here and 4 numbers. You can brute force it as well if stuff is going weird. But I cannot tell you how many times we redid this just to end up finding out the answer. Seems to just be 42 for everyone. In any event, guys, you enter the correct code, you open the chest, you will see access granted, and then as you can see, you will get a super sweet class item. And when you do, your quest will update for one last time, and now you have to go and visit Spider. But keep in mind what you can see us do. You can actually have someone hold this kind of checkpoint and the other people load in on different characters so they can acquire sick class items for their different characters. Keep in mind, like, you can just play through the dungeon normally on those other characters, and then when you do go into this room, enter that 42 code, access the chest, and it should give you the class item for different characters. But you're going to go back and talk to Spider, and literally nothing is going to happen. It's just going to complete the quest. You have your class item, and again, importantly, you can now go back in and access those chests, the ones that required level 1 and 2 security clearance in future runs. I think it's only once per character per account, but again, upon weekly reset, those chests should be available to loot and essentially act as the secret chests for this dungeon, so that just means more loot drops overall. Guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.